Welcome to Pure Hustle Podcast. I'm Mike.
And this is Orlando. And today we're talking about the 5 top phrases that we use when negotiating at garage sales.
Yeah, and these aren't the only phrases we use. These are just some of the 5 of the most common that come up in many of the negotiations that we do. So if you have a phrase that you like, that you use to help seal that deal and make sure that you get the best price, put it in the comments below. We'd love to hear what you use. And while you're doing that, make sure to like and subscribe. And when you subscribe, hit that bell notification because we are putting out more content. Lots of content is going up on our YouTube. So if you don't hit that notification, you're not going to know when the new content hits. So hit that notification and you'll get those alerts. Because if you don't hit the notification, it kind of subscription doesn't mean anything. Now, stick around, okay? Because we're going to be talking about these. And number 5, I think, is my favorite. That's the one that I feel like it seals the deal.
Sometimes.
Yeah, it's definitely a game changer. So make sure you watch all of them. Number 5 is the absolute best, or one of the favorites that we use. So, all right, what's our first one?
So the first one seems that it's common sense, but sometimes, you're wondering, like, what do I start with? Do I just give a number? And if you're wondering what should I do in the beginning, go back to our previous episode where we talked about making more money on garage sales, and talks to you. That sound right?
It explains
about, how should you start the negotiation. Actually, we're going to have a second part to this video that we get more into techniques before and after. Now, this is very simple because you never want to give the first number. So the best way to do that is you just say, what were you looking to get on this item? It just breaks the ice. It's not uncomfortable. You're not making an assumption about what the price should be. You're not telling them that I'm looking to get the best deal. You're putting the power basically in their hands, or at least they feel it that way. And then you can start negotiating from there.
Yeah. And a lot of times they're going to try and push back and make you give them an offer or a number. And like we said, we'll talk about that more in a future video on techniques. And you can always go back to our last episode. But this is a powerful tool, and it even works. This phrase or a similar phrase will even work if an item has a price on it. Because a lot of times people will see a price on an item. They'll see something marked as $10. I just recently bought a really cool board game at a garage sale that had a $10 price on it. And I used a very similar phrase to this. So saying, well, what are you hoping to get for it isn't exactly right because they already have it on there. So you can kind of change a little bit and say, what's the lowest you would go on this? But both of these work, right? So what are you hoping to get for this? Or if they have a price on it, what would you take for this? Yeah,
because remember, if you go, what's the lowest you'd go on this, they're already going like, wow, this person's a cheapskate. This person wants to get the bottom dollar. Or even if, you start right away by pointing out flaws and everything, you just don't want to go down that road. This way, they feel empowered. Then you can go down from the price that they state. So again, you want to state, what were you looking to get on this item?
Yeah, and you'd be surprised at how much power you have when you give the power away.
Agreed.
When you're letting them make that decision. Because a lot of times, in the same way we have that kind of anxiety to ask, they actually are going to have anxiety to give a number. Unless they're, some garage sales you go to, you can tell that they're outrageously priced, and we'll talk about some techniques you can use to get those down, or phrases you can use. But a lot of times they don't want to offend you by a price, right? They don't want to offend you by going too high. So you'll be surprised at how often they'll give a lower number than you'll expect by just asking, well, what are you hoping to get from this?
There we go.
All right.
You want to do number 2?
All right. So our next one is, So our next one, these next 2 actually kind of go together, because a lot of times people will say things like, well, it goes for this much on eBay. Right? Like a lot of times you hear people say, this will sell, well, I'm asking $30 because that's what they sell for on eBay.
And that kind of ends it. Like, if you're a new reseller, that would kind of stop you from going further, right? Because you're like, well, I guess there's no deal, but you can still make that deal.
Yeah, because a lot of times they don't actually know how to look up comps on eBay. So what they're looking for is the prices things are listed for. So what you can do is say, hey, well, let's look at the comps on my phone. A lot of times that is a very useful tool to show somebody, hey, I know that you're saying that this goes for $30, but if, I'm looking on my phone here and these are actually only selling for $20 on eBay, and there's only been 2 that have sold in the last 90 days. So you can show them on your phone, and you'd be surprised at how many times doing that actually will get them to lower the price, because they may have an unrealistic expectation of what their item is worth. So when you actually show them how much it's worth, they will, not always, but a lot of times they'll go, oh.
Yeah, you got to play it careful, right? You got to play it careful. I mean, the key thing is, that we got to throw in here a little bit is the idea that you have to, at this point, you're going to say, I'm looking to resell this. So there needs to be, a place where we can meet where I can make some money on this. Now, the thing is, when you pull up the comps, right, you're obviously not going to make sure that you don't put the highest comps, right? Because that's what, sometimes you might have your phone set to that. You want to go to the most recent, right? So they know, because the market's volatile. And part of that conversation, you can say, some of these were selling at this price, but it seems like the price is going up and down. And then, you're sharing with them that the market is unpredictable and that, yeah, they may be able to get that, but that's going to take a lot of work. And that goes into the next phrase that's connected to this that we're going to talk about.
Yeah. And so remember, this is not something you want to use right off the bat. This is something if they mention eBay prices or how much something sells for. Okay. Or even if they say this goes for, $50 new, right? You can maybe then use this phrase to show them, well, these are what they're going for used.
And then at the same time, let's say these go for $50 new and it's a used item. You can say, yeah, $50 new, that's right where it needs to be. But if you take a look at the comps here, used, they drastically dropped by 75%. And so, there's not much to be made on this. I was wondering if we could work out a better deal.
Yeah, very good. And that leads to the next one, which actually connects directly to this one. You want to go ahead and do that one?
All right. So the next one is, and this one, again, you'll have to get out of your comfort zone a little bit, right? This is why we're putting the phrases at the bottom. So maybe you could memorize these when you use them at garage sales. Maybe you have a little cheat sheet that you bring with you to coach you before you get out there. I know it sounds kind of awkward, but eventually it'll become natural. And so the next one would be like, hey, I could save you the time of listing on eBay, because what happens a lot, they'll say, well, I could get that, for $50 on eBay. And you could say, well, I can save you the time of listing on eBay. Think about it. You're going to have to go back. You're going to have to take pictures. You're going to have to make sure your pictures are just right. You're going to have to get the listing. You're going to have to figure out the shipping. You're waiting for the buyer to show up. And then after the buyer pays, then you're going to have to package, ship it, take it to the post office. Seems, that's a lot of work. Or I can just give you cash right now and you won't have to worry about this anymore.
Yeah. And another thing that goes along with this phrase, so I think this is a great phrase to use. It can save you time. Because again, what you're doing when you say something like this is you're freeing them up, right? You're offering them something. I'm saving you time. And this is a powerful technique, some phrases to use, like whether you're in a job interview, anything like that, you want to talk about what you can do for them. Right? I'm going to save you time. And a lot of times with a phrase like this, you can also kind of add on there, oh, do you already have an eBay store? Because you'd be surprised how many people will say they'll sell something on eBay. And if you mention, do you have an eBay store? And they say, well, not yet. Or, I sold something years ago. You can throw an ad on top of that, like, oh, do you have a lot of reviews? Because man, a lot of times getting good sales on eBay, it doesn't happen unless you already have reviews and you've got an established store. And if once you say that, you can kind of, again, well, I can help you out with that, right? I can cut out all of the nonsense you have to do. I could save you time and I'll list it for you, right? I'm just paying you up front and you don't have to worry about that. I'm saving you time and energy.
And again, if you're questioning some of these, I implore you to try these. I'm telling you, they work. They work consistently for years now.
Yeah. And a lot of times it's a fear. Again, we talked about in our previous episode, our long podcast form episode, about the fear of telling people that you're a reseller. And this helps, right? You'd be surprised at how many times, just being honest. I do this myself. And like I said on the previous episode, I saw somebody do this exact same phrase and these exact same techniques talking about how hard it is to list on eBay. And I'm kind of just sitting there going, man, this guy knows what he's doing and he got the sale. So it works. All right. So our next one is, and this is a really good one to use, especially because a lot of times when people have garage sales, you can tell if you go to a garage sale and it's a store, right? They've got like a table full of 60 sunglasses.
Or another reseller.
Right. But a lot of times it's people just trying to clear things out of their house. And you can sometimes hear people say the magic phrase, this is going to go, anything I don't get rid of is just going to Goodwill or something like that. But what you could say is, you'll never have to see this item again. You won't have to deal with this again, especially if it's a big item. You'd be surprised at how many times I've gotten bigger items, VCRs, stereo equipment, things like that. And you could say, you'll never have to deal with this again. Oh, you won't even have to worry about taking this back inside or finding a place for it. And when you use a phrase like this, you're reminding them that they're trying to get rid of their stuff. That when you're trying to negotiate with them, that they're never going to have to deal with this again. They've already spent the time getting it out, putting it out. Do they really want to put it away and deal with either taking it somewhere or just having it sit in their house again? Because they probably wouldn't have put it out there in the first place if they weren't hoping to get rid of it.
Agreed. And the thing is, you want to be quick on this one, because what ends up happening sometimes you're lagging and you're going back and forth, and you just want to drop this right away. You can say, hey, listen, you'll never have to see this again. And you got to sell it, right? You got to be enthusiastic about it. Hey, I want to help you out. You want to help me out. I can get this in my car, and you'll never, ever have to worry about this again. And you have that space back in your garage, back in your home, and you're good to go.
And this works really well if you've got like husband and wife or multiple family members out together at a garage sale, because you'd be surprised how many times the other person at the garage sale, the person's, partner, significant other, whatever, hears this and they're like, yeah, get rid of it. I don't want that in my house anymore.
Oh, if you hear that, then this phrase is golden. Yep. Like this phrase will make you a friend and seal the deal.
That's right.
All right. So last one. So this one,
it's golden.
Now it took time to kind of, make this work, because it gets kind of rough and it's kind of unsettling when you see something and the price is just outrageous, right? Or you see something, you're like, wow, I can make a lot of money on this item. And then you ask and they give you some crazy number, right? So the goal of this is to remove the attachment to it, right? Because if they have a high number, there's two reasons they have an attachment. One, it's because they think it's worth a lot, right? And they want to get a lot of money for it. Or two, it could be something that they really care for, something that was maybe part of their childhood or something that had a memory. And so they want to sell it, but they kind of don't. And that's why they have that high price. And so I use this phrase a lot and it has worked. Mike's actually seen this in play multiple times. And it's the phrase that goes like this: seems this item means a lot to you. Right now, why does that throw them off?
It throws them off a lot of times because immediately they almost get defensive, not in a bad way, because you don't ever want to put somebody on the defense in a bad way where you're offending them on their item. Agreed. You don't want to say, well, like, this is trash. Because again, if they have some kind of connection, but a lot of times they're going to want to say, no, it doesn't. Or, it's fine. My kids outgrew it, or whatever their return is going to be. But they're going to want to say, you know what? No, it doesn't mean a lot. Because otherwise, if they stand there and start to say how much they don't want to sell it and how much it means to them, then you're probably not going to get the sale. But I'd say 9 out of 10 times the response that I hear from this is, no, I'm not that connected to it, or no, it's not, right? Because you're almost, it's almost a passive aggressive way of kind of saying like, this, are you not wanting to sell this?
Well, it's a good reminder. Let's put it that way. It's a reminder to them that, hey, this is a garage sale. This is a yard sale. There's a reason you brought this out. Right. If you weren't intending to sell it, you would have never brought it out. Right.
And once they almost want to convince you that they're not attached to it, and then they're willing to sell it. Right. So if they were asking $50 for it and you're like, wow, I could do, and you're trying to get them down to 25 and they're just not moving. You're like, well, this must mean a lot to you. And then they'll backpedal a little bit, and then they might say, all right, I could do 30. Right. And like they're willing, all of a sudden negotiation starts happening again, and you can get the ball moving where you're in a locked position.
Correct. And I've been able to get some of my biggest finds through using this line, because in the end, it's usually the highest priced item at the garage sale or pretty close. And once you start using that, it definitely helps, because remember, most people will look at that item and pass on it, right? So it may be an item that you show up and it's been sitting there for an hour and a half and no one has attempted, and you have that opportunity by just using that phrase, seems like this means a lot to you, to eventually break the ice, get the person to see that, yeah, I do want to sell this. And then you work that negotiation and you end up getting a great deal.
That's right. Now, remember, like and subscribe. Let us know if you have any phrases that you use that we didn't talk about down below in the comments, and hit that bell notification. And we've got another video coming out probably in a week or two where we're going to talk about specific techniques, a lot of them coming from Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss. So if you haven't watched that series of ours, it's very, very helpful. One of the most helpful books we've read. But these are some of the 5 phrases that we use, and we hope that you find them useful.
And with that being said, make sure to be real,
be relevant,
and be reselling.
Late.